A lot of people struggle from identity crisis, and they don't really understand who they are, where they're going, what they want to do in life. And it's a very common problem, especially among young high school graduates, and we'll say even people in or directly out of college. Austin, what's your advice when it comes to knowing yourself or thyself?
I have a good amount of advice, but I also would like to add, you said knowing people, they're like in high school or coming out of high school, fresh out of high school or some shit like that. I would like to add that I think even people who are our age or older than us still don't know themselves. Because I can think of some people in my head that I feel like are going through a identity crisis of some sorts. And the whole midlife crisis thing, I think even people in their 40s, 50s, whatever year, they come to a point to where they realize that they might have been living a lie for a long period of time. And then they come to grips with the fact that they really don't know themselves as much as they thought that they did. So as far as for me, I'm sounding like just like the almighty wise guy, like I just know everything. But I think what helped me understand myself is being more introspective. Because this is funny, I was having a conversation with this girl and she asked, do you have that voice inside your head? Like, do you have like a mental like voice, like your voice inside your head when you're just sitting there? Like, I think 30% or some of the world doesn't. They don't have a voice inside their head, like their voice inside their head talking. But most people do. And let's just say, for using that as an example, right? You being very introspective with yourself, say if you're just having these conversations with yourself inside your head, I'm like, hey, I do this. Hey, I have to do this. I stink at that. I'm good at this. You having these introspective talks with yourself helps you understand yourself a lot more. And when you do that, you also have to be very honest with yourself. Because I think the honesty portion is the breakthrough. Once you're honest with yourself and let yourself know that you're good or not good at these particular things and that you want to get better, that is the catalyst for growth. So a lot of people lie to themselves, and that causes, them to have those midlife crises, or what was the word that you use or phrase that you use? Basically, identity crisis. Yes, yeah. Having an identity crisis, because the only way that you can have that, in my opinion, is if you sit up there and either lie to yourself or don't listen to the things that you're telling yourself or that you know about yourself. And to avoid that, you have to go through that honesty phase with yourself and say, hey, I need to improve in this, and this is how I'm going to do it. And right now, I'm not doing enough.
I think people spend too much time separate or disassociated from reality. They live in a world of social media. They live in a world of TV. Netflix series, anime, whatever it might be, and they try to superimpose these movie and false realities onto what is real life. An example is actually what is the cultural name for Japanese, like shut-in?
Like you said, shut-in?
Yeah.
Like someone who's very...
Like they just play video games and watch anime and then they don't go out. There's a word for them.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Neat, maybe?
I don't want to say the wrong thing, and then you try to say that, and then turns out you're saying somebody is a fucking turkey or some shit. Like
Hikikomori. A form of severe social withdrawal called hikikomori has been frequently described in Japan and is characterized by adolescents and young adults who become recluses in their parents' house, unable to work or go to school for months or years.
Wow.
Now, you're not necessarily a hikikomori, but by the same token, mentally, you're reclusive.
Yeah.
There's, and we're not saying that we're devoid or not guilty of this, I think a lot of people are hikikomoris, but not necessarily in reality. I think they're reclusive within their own mind. A lot of times we can be in the most busy place in the world. Say you're at the airport, but you're living in your own world. When we were kids, and even now, I guarantee that you still have the capacity to daydream and think that you're in a different world, right? You're like, man, when I get home, I'm going to throw this on my PB&J and I'm going to have this for dinner and I'm going to talk to this person and I'm going to play this video game and I'm going to do that. And like we take that to the next level as adults, and then somebody taps you on the shoulder and you're like, whoa, hey, how are you? It's completely, it's a surreal feeling. It's almost like you're living in a world separate and there's certain things that pull you down into reality or pull you up into reality, depending on how you look at it. And I think that a lot of people spend so much time in a dazed-like state that they never actually get to cognize reality. A lot of people also like to complain about circumstances that they have no control over. Man, I can't believe the gas prices are so high. Yada, 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 yada. Whine. We have a saying, and it's no bitching, moaning, or whining. It's called no BMWing.
Is that Mr. whatchamacallit's lab?
No, I just got that from the old white guy who worked in the supply office, who used to give me free shit because we were G's like that. Shout out to John. But I think that that's a big problem because you're running away from reality by just complaining and putting the blame on somebody else. If you're complaining about gas prices, well, then you have one or two options. Find a way to reduce the prices or find a way to increase your finances so you can afford them better. There's always a solution within reason before you smart dumbasses come into the comment section. Smart ass dumbasses come into the comment section like, oh no, that doesn't make any sense. And then try to explain how fucking the economy works to me. And I mean, if you can, then that's great because I'm not necessarily the most literate or most well-read on anything. But for the most part, there's generally a solution to most things. And it's either you solve it or you find a way to mediate the pain.
Now, solving problems, right? I feel like that's something that we have become very good at. And one of the reasons why I believe that we've become very good at this is because we know ourselves. And let's just say, we'll use this as an example, right? We just purchased a large amount we purchased some items that cost a large amount of money.
Can I say the amount? $2,100.
Now, for some people, they're like, oh, that's not even that much. I'm rich and I live off my daddy's money. Like, okay, now we have a whole bunch of other shit that we're paying for.
That's not even half our rent.
Exactly. That's not even half our rent. We got to pay for a whole bunch of other employees, business expenses, all that.
Eat. We have to pay for the beautiful women that I almost said that service us, but that was an interesting way of putting it. But yes. They service us.
Yeah, it ain't that much, I'll tell you that.
Not the quantity of women, we're talking about the price.
Yeah. But so yeah, definitely talking about the price. Because hell no, I'm not paying that. Unless it's my wife. But anyway, so back to decision making. For us, we made that decision very quickly. Now, for most people, if they had to use an excess amount of cash to purchase some items that they may not necessarily need, but they want, and it's 4, digits worth, they're going to stop and they're going to be hesitant and they might not make that decision as fast or just in general.
And I don't blame them.
Exactly. I don't blame them. But I think for us, because we know ourselves, we were very quick to make that decision. Why? Because we know that we're going to put in the work in order to make that money back in some shape or form, and maybe even, quadruple the amount very soon. So we're able to make certain decisions, and I feel like you should be able to make certain decisions more quickly because you know what you're capable of. You know what you're good at. You know what you're bad at. You know what you can and what you're willing to do. So once you know yourself in and out, you're able to make decisions a lot more fast because you don't have that lag to really understand, okay, what are the repercussions of this transpiring, or how am I going to bounce back from, losing this amount of money or losing this amount of time, losing this amount of whatever. You already know how you will respond to that. And once you know how you respond to it, once you know that you've built up enough continuous habits to the point to where whatever you do choose to do, they were flying down the street, whatever you do choose to do, that you're going to make the shit work, whether it's going to be easy or not, I think decision making becomes a lot easier that way. You have to know yourself. Now, I do have a question for you.
Yes, sir. I was trying to see if it was about time to drop a bomb or not.
I
Go ahead.
I think it is, and I think you could potentially drop a bomb with this. So, coming from a battle perspective, we're in battle, right? Can you please advise the viewers and myself on how knowing your strengths and weaknesses can help you approach battle? And that could be literal battle, that could be day-to-day battles that you go through. How does knowing your strengths and your weaknesses help you in battle?
It's a great question, by the way.
Thank you.
I feel like this is something I'd have to probably write an essay on after reading The 33 Strategies of War by Robert Greene to properly answer and do its due diligence. But I'll riff from here. You need to leverage your strengths and compensate for your weaknesses. If you understand where you are strong and where your enemies are weak, and also where they are strong and where you are weak, then now you have the capacity to both strategize and be tactical in your approach to everything that you do. When you know what you're good at, you can attack sharp, swiftly, and with confidence. But when you don't know where you're good at, you're going to be hesitant, you're going to be lazy, you're going to be lackadaisical, and you're going to be all over the place, unorganized. And if there's anything that is truly detrimental in life as in war, it's being absolutely chaotic. Now, some people might argue that, hey, guerrilla warfare is a great strategy, and that is true. But guerrilla warfare is a war on attrition. Just because it works doesn't mean that it's meant to be efficient and sharp. Guerrilla warfare is meant to essentially deter people from winning. It's a lose-lose. It's not a win-win. Now, if you are able to truly understand everything that you're good at and everything that you're weak at, you've done 98% of the work. Now the rest is putting a plan down on paper and putting it into action.
Right.
Why wouldn't you take advantage of all the information that you have? There's a reason why we live in a data-driven society. Data-driven decisions are the core principle of most businesses nowadays. In general, any business that succeeds is based on data. And if you want to argue, well, I don't have data to process or authorize, I'm just a street salesman. The amount of cash that you get is data, and you will make decisions based on that data. It's very, very simple. Imagine being a salesman, saleswoman, salesperson, and you don't know what tactics work, and you also don't know what tactics don't work, and you never take the time to learn which ones work and which ones don't. What's going to happen to your sales? And you're selling a mediocre product, so it actually needs good sales. Nothing. You're going to go nowhere. You might get a sale here, you might get a sale there, but you're never going to be able to properly scale anything or move forward because you don't have feedback. Life is all based on feedback. And, honestly, there's not many ways to say it. Just don't be a dumbass. Do the math and go kick some ass.
And to close on this, I want to add something for you to ponder. So, in my opinion, in order for you to understand others, you must really understand why you do what you do and who you are first. Because once you approach things from a perspective of, I know why I do these certain things. Now let me try to put myself in someone else's shoes and see why I believe they got like this, or why they act like this, or how they came to be this particular person. You start to understand others a lot more. And you're able to do that again because you first went inside yourself and said, hey, look, what am I doing wrong? What can I do better? Why do I do the things that I do? How did this habit that I have start? Where did it get triggered? And then once you start to ask yourself those questions and you go through solving them and fixing them, then you can start to see the potential pathway that someone might have went down in order to get to where they are in life and how they act in life. So before you go casting stones and criticizing other people, get to know yourself first and really dig deep and find out what are those things that triggered you to be where you are today. And then when you look at someone else, think about, okay, this is what I went through. So now let me think about how life could have impacted them to end up where they are. And then from a business perspective, in my opinion, if you do this, this makes you a great leader because you have the ability to empathize and sympathize with people. And once you are able to connect with people on that level, they're much more willing to work not only with you, but for you in order to accomplish what you are seeking out to do. So, know yourself, my people.
The AM Club Podcast.
Signing out.
Mic check. The AM Club Podcast.